Welcome back to the 5-Star Council podcast. This is producer Bobby here. While we're still in the middle of our 5-star service boot camp, we had the chance to sit down with this week's guest, and we wanted to get this episode out to you while it was still fresh. So without further ado, here is our interview with speaker, author, and management advisor Joe Pine.
I'm John Strohmeyer, and this is the 5-Star Council podcast. The market for legal services is shifting, and lawyers who don't adapt will be left behind. This podcast gives you a competitive edge in today's market by sharing in the client service lessons you probably didn't learn in law school or in law practice. Let's start the show. Hey 5-Star listeners, before we start, I want to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a virtual receptionist service for small businesses with a specialty in working with solo and small law firms. I signed up with them within weeks of starting my firm because they are affordable for even the smallest solo practice. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in Spanish or English, screen and schedule new leads, and can even take payments. And now they're answering calls 24 hours a day. So even when you're asleep, they're still working. Even beyond the phone, they've got live agents and chatbots ready to capture leads on your website, by text, and by Facebook Messenger. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front line so you can work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $70 a month for calls and $100 a month for chats. Smith AI is offering a free trial, and our podcast listeners get an extra $100 discount code with promo code 5STAR. That's FIVESTAR. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. Joe Pine, I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be with you, particularly given the industry you focus on. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, me too. I'm sitting here with my copy of The Experience Economy. I read this about 2.5 years ago for the first time. And, listeners will know that was a few months before we actually started releasing episodes. Really, what I got from The Experience Economy helped form and really helped me develop what I saw of as how service works for lawyers and other professionals. I mean, we'll get into this more. But the way that you and your co-author, James Gilmore, described it as, the continuum from commodities to goods, services, experience, and ultimately transformations, just help clarify that we're not always buying some undifferentiated mass. At the same time, experience matters. We're going to talk more about that. But, the wide floor for you to start with. Thank you so much for being here.
All right. So the basic way to think about what's going on, we call it the progression of economic value, how economic value has changed over millennia, really, where it began with an agrarian economy based off commodities, where you extracted commodities out of the ground, right? You think of the agrarian economy. Then we shifted started in the 18th century into an industrial economy where goods became the most important economic offering. And then in the latter half of the 20th century, we shifted into a service economy where services became the predominant economic offering and goods became commoditized, basically, as the value shifted towards services. And commoditization is a thing that every company has to worry about, where people no longer care about the brand or the features and the benefits that you have. They really care about price and convenience, right? That's when you've been commoditized. And increasingly, services have become commoditized as well, bought on price. And that has caused or helped cause the shift to the experience economy. So experiences are the fourth level of economic value. And the key thing to understand, right? Absolute key is that they are a distinct economic offering, as distinct from services as services are from goods. Especially when you use goods as props and services as a stage to engage each individual in an inherently personal way and thereby create that memory, which is the hallmark of the experience. Right? So that's what's gone on as we've shifted from an agrarian economy through an industrial economy, a service economy, and today we're in an experience economy. It means goods and services have been commoditized. And so I like how you said you read it for the first time, because so many people tell me how they read it over and over again in all the different editions. We originally came out with the book in 1999. That's how long. But people keep buying it, and because people keep recognizing this shift. And I used to have to argue with people that was going on. Now I just say it, and usually everybody gets it. We updated in 2011, and then the copy you've got, John, is the 2020 re-release of it, where we added a new subtitle, Competing for Customer Time, Attention, and Money, and a preview about that, but then also put the rest of the book basically in this rubric of 5 elements that if you want to stage great, compelling, memorable experiences, then you need to create experiences, stage experiences that are robust, cohesive, personal, dramatic, and even transformative. Right. So, and those are the key things. So, robust experience is one that hits the sweet spot in what we call the 4 realms of experience. It has aspect of entertainment, educational, escapist, and aesthetic experiences. And so you need to think about how do you provide a place and in your interactions with your clients, something that they enjoy as well as learn from, something that they can go and do as well as just be. And you think about the entire environment that you do. And then cohesive is about how do you create an experience that hangs together. And the key there is a theme, right? You asked, right? What if what would be the case if Disney designed your law firm? Well, first thing they do is they come up with a theme. It's a theme park. Now, it doesn't have to mean it's fantasy like Disney World or that it's in your face like a theme restaurant. It's simply the underlying principle of the experience. It's how you decide what's in the experience versus what's out of the experience. And then you need to make it personal. And that's where you need to customize your interactions to each individual. You need to reach inside of them and engage them. And so the better you customize your goods and your services, then the easier it is to be able to create an experience that does in fact engage them. Dramatic obviously is about how you rise up to a climax and come back down again. How you realize that when you're in front of customers, your work is theater. And it's not a metaphor. I don't mean work as theater. I literally mean work is theater, that you are on stage. I need to act in a way that engages your audience. And then finally, transformative is about going beyond that experiences and recognizing that you can help your clients change through their experiences. In fact, we only ever change through the experiences that we have. And transformations recognize that that our customers have an aspiration, right? Often multiple aspirations. And how can we help them achieve those aspirations? And what that focuses on is really the outcomes that they want. It's not about your inputs. It's about the inputs don't matter unless your clients get the outcomes that they want. And I think that's particularly important in the legal industry because nobody ever hires you because they want you to do legal stuff, right? They hire you because they have a particular outcome. Well, whether that's staying out of jail or whether that's winning a lawsuit or whatever it might be. That's fundamentally what lawyers in the legal industry are about is helping people achieve the legal outcomes that they're looking for.
Now, and starting with that transformation, I've been saying it for years here. People don't come to us for that liberal application of hours. Okay. They want the result. And as a planner and probate guy, my job is to help unwind the messes before they happen, or if they've happened because somebody's passed, we want to resolve that mess. It's not just, well, I billed 3 hours today, client. Why don't you like that? It's, right. Well, did we get closer to solving this? Did we get the money out of the bank and into the beneficiary's hands? Whatever it is, whatever series of tasks, that's what the clients are, that element, I think, is going to be one of those ones that keeps coming. And Ron Baker, who we've talked to before, focuses on that kind of ongoing transformation for any sort of professional. It's not, you're not coming to me for that will.
Right.
That's not felt. It's the no unfinished business, the peace of mind for the family.
Right. In fact, one way to think about it is that services are about time well saved, right? You saved me my time. Usually you think about that as getting things more convenient, like getting contactless delivery at your home or having Amazon deliver. But even in the legal industry, it's like you save me the time of going to law school and understanding all this stuff and passing the bar, right? I can't, so I'm hiring you for that expertise. Experiences are about time well spent. That people value the time that they spend with Disney, Ritz-Carlton, Zappos, is wonderful because Zappos doesn't measure average handling time like almost every other contact center does. They throw that measurement away because it's a measure of how little time we spend with customers, instead of recognizing that they can provide this personal emotional connection that allows their sales associates, their I'm trying to remember the name of them, their customer loyalty team, they call it, right? So the customer loyalty team, that they can take whatever time it takes to make that connection, and therefore people value the time that they spend. And then transformations are fundamentally about time well invested, that you're investing your time in a way that's going to yield a compound interest and dividends now and into the future, right? And that's what it's about fundamentally for the legal business. It's not about the tracking the hours that you do. Again, the inputs don't matter. It's really that outcome is the only thing that matters.
Right. And this is where, when I was coming up with the way I viewed service of what what professionals should be doing, trying to square it up, this is where I was having kind of the biggest problems lining things up. And finally, I've kind of said, well, look, we've got different lenses of looking at things. Neither are wrong. It's just two different ways. I 100% agree. People pay me as the lawyer to save them time so they can go do anything else.
Right.
Given your blue sky budget for a Saturday, nobody's going to say, I want to go see my doctor, my accountant, and my lawyer. They want to go to Disney or Lego, or at least I do. And I think one of the pitfalls that service professionals like lawyers they fall into frequently and quickly, is they're trying to mimic that over-the-top experience that they'll get at Disney or a Four Seasons. They say, I still remember the first time I heard a lawyer say, well, if a client says they want this drink, by God, we're going to have it in the fridge for them every time. And it's nice to think about, but if they want Moxie and you live in Southern California, is it really worth the expenditure to say, well, look, they're not coming here for Moxie. They're coming here to get a divorce. Let's make the reasonable trade-offs.
Well, I would say that depends, right? If it is difficult to get and so forth, but it does fulfill that aspect of being personal that I talked about, that if you remember the preferences, you know what they want, and you've got that available, then you can get sort of that wow effect about how they really do know me. Now, obviously, there are some things that are going to be too expensive to do and some things too trivial to do. But you can find those ones in between that do in fact make sense. But fundamentally, you're right. It doesn't contribute to that end outcome that much, but it can turn time well saved into time well invested. One way to think about it, John, as you say, is that people actually want goods and services to be commoditized. They want to buy them at the lowest possible price and the greatest possible convenience, so they can spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value, whether it's going to Disney and Lego or some other place. And so if you can get the most bang for the buck, so to speak, is the smallest amount of time with the greatest amount of outcome when it comes to the legal outcome. But recognizing that time you do spend then is where it's really most important, and where they make that investment and know that, okay, that's what's paying dividends, is that interaction that we have at this moment in time.
Right. I heard somewhere at a firm I worked years ago, the thing that clients really want at Christmas is not a fruit basket that you've picked out of the catalog. It's the handwritten note. And the cheap things, I say cheap, the low cost, pick up the phone and call somebody on their birthday, is going to be more valuable than we sent you, the gift spread or something else at Christmas time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because one is that they know it's the same spread you're sending to everybody else. Whereas a thank you note is a personal. You actually thought about me. I just wasn't a name in a spreadsheet somewhere. And now there may be times when you can, particularly like some of your best clients or clients where something momentous did happen that year, then you can think about, well, what's the one gift that would make sense, that would really cement the relationship, right? That would get them to recognize the value you provided over this year, something that you actually think about, and then they recognize, well, that's even better than either of those options.
Right. And again, it's the easy answer is, well, we're going to go swipe our Amex and we're going to buy our 50 best clients, 50 copies of the same book, versus knowing somebody and recognizing we know them well enough to know they're going to like this. Don't try and just spray and pray with your Amex. If you know something about somebody, you can take that risk, but don't do it if you don't.
Right. And unless it's my book, because then everybody would gain value.
It's what choosy business owners choose to improve their practice. So I wanted to go back, the cohesive experience. This is something we've actually been working on more in our firm of, look, I'm trying to take clients and get them to design their plan. Every plan, or almost every client who comes in, I already know they're married and they have kids. The basic plan is everything goes to the survivor, otherwise an equal shares to the kids, with very few exceptions. I knew that before they walked in. But that is the 2-year-old's Crayola drawing of a house, and we've actually got to build the house. And so digging in and the metaphor I found that works is we're climbing a mountain. And so that cohesive experience that, kind of taking your words, we're getting kind of a custom drawn map of, we're going to climb this mountain. We're going to the top of Smith Family Mountain, not Jones Family or Strohmeyer Family, because this is yours. And we, kind of chart a path up the mountain. And that way we know here are the stages of climbing this mountain. It's helped clients understand where they are. It also helps internally because my staff knows where people are.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful metaphor, and it can go beyond a metaphor to actually sort of like become your theme that makes it cohesive, because you recognize that, okay, I've climbed mountains before, but I've never climbed your mountain, and
Right.
You're probably not a mountain climber at all, and so I'm going to help you through this, and I will be your guide. Right? And that's what I love about it, is that when you're in the transformation business, then you need to be a guide. You may call it a navigator, you may call it a Sherpa, shaman. There are many different words for it, but guide is the fundamental economic function that you need to do, is you guide them through that. And that's what mountain climbers need, right? Is they need guides.
Exactly. I mean, we put it on the website a 3 or 4 years ago of where our clients guide through the maze of estate planning, probate, and tax, because
Excellent.
That makes sense. If I just say I'm a probate attorney, people, I don't know what that means,
Right.
But taking them from here and clarifying is what we're, again, as the professional, I'm here to make it easier. They don't want to learn how to do this. They're paying us to know how to do it for them.
Right. And so I love that you put that right out front there about your being a guide. And then you could think about, okay, well, what should our office look like if I'm a guide, right? Should this be a normal office? Should it be a normal conference room that I'm talking with my clients about? Or should there be things that even speak to mountain climbing on there? Should there be paintings and posters and so forth? Should there be carabiners and hanging things up and so forth? And it's something that you can, in fact, take it to that extent. You may be, if you're using mountain climbing as your theme, you may, with a different aspect, there may be other things that you want there. But that's what being cohesive means, is it allows you again to decide what's in and what's out, and you take it to that logical conclusion about how things look and feel and be.
Joe, I'm so glad that you have turned this into free consultation for me. That's a little. It's a little more public than normal, but we're going to keep. No, because I'm just getting ideas as well of, well, how do we expand on that theming? But the real clarity is we're restricting it, what we do. We know we've got our goal, the tagline, no unfinished business. It's not connected to a mountain, but it's still there. It doesn't mean, we know what no unfinished business means, being at the top of the mountain. We can kind of pull that all together. What are some other ways that companies that aren't law firms, how are they helping develop this cohesive theming?
Well, the next thing to do, so you come up with a theme, is to think then about what are the impressions that we want to give our customers. What are the things that we want them to have top of mind? I always say that they answer questions like, that was blank, or that made me feel blank. And so one of my favorite examples of that in the hotel industry is Joie de Vivre Hospitality out of San Francisco, which was
Mhm.
founded by a then 26-year-old entrepreneur by the name of Chip Conley, right, many decades ago. But he immediately, he bought this seedy rundown hotel in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. He didn't have a lot of money to do market research and figure out what people want. So he glommed onto an industry that did, and that was the magazine industry. And he decided to theme Phoenix Hotel after Rolling Stone magazine. And the idea was, if I could capture the essence of Rolling Stone magazine, he says, and then put it in my hotel, then everybody who loves Rolling Stone would just naturally love my hotel. And so he said, well, he and his folks got out the issues of Rolling Stone. Well, what is this really all about? Right? It's not about the rock music. You get rid of the rock music. What is the underlying concept? And he said it was about being adventurous, hip, funky, irreverent, and young at heart. And that's what he did to the Phoenix Hotel. He made the Phoenix Hotel adventurous, hip, funky, irreverent, young at heart. It drove the design of the place. It drove the hiring of people. It drove the what they said, how they did things. And he made so much money that he's able to buy second, third, fourth. They got up to 20 some hotels before he sold the business. And he themed every one of them after a different magazine, which is wonderful. So one technique is to just pick a pop culture icon. You might not want to pick, the lawyer scene from A Few Good Men, but you might. There are things that you can choose from, and then figure out, well, okay, what are those impressions, and how do we design that into our experience? Another, then you harmonize in positive cues that make it feel like that. You get rid of negative cues that don't make it feel like that detract from the experience. They may be perfectly fine in your legal profession or whatever business you're in, but they don't fit with the theme. And then another key thing is to mix in memorabilia, right? That people naturally want memorabilia of things that they've experienced. They want to take home things, remind them, and often it's physical things that are already there, like the Library Hotel in New York City. My favorite place to stay at New York City is themed after the Dewey Decimal System. Right, it's really cool. You've got 10 floors, and each floor is a different category. Then each room is a different subcategory of the Dewey Decimal System. But the key packet that you get, that just has your room number on it, so that you can remember your room number. You don't associate the actual key with a number like they used to, right? It is a tiny little book filled with sayings about libraries, right? One saying in every page. And so it's a beautiful piece of memorabilia that people actually take their key packet home instead of throwing it away in their hotel room. So what are those things in your business that you could turn into memorabilia? And then the last thing is to engage all five senses. Right? We take experiences through our senses. So how do you engage each and every sense in a particular way? It's why water features are so good. So they engage so many senses. Why coffee, popcorn, wine, cigars, all of those are things that engage all five senses just by themselves. So how do you do that? I was with here in Minnesota, visited a business-to-business bank called the Platinum Bank, and they designed this to be a wonderful experience, and very different than every bank. But I told the general manager, the president of the bank, I said, there's one thing you lack that I just associate with banking, particularly B2B deals in banking. He says, and that's a cigar lounge, right? You should deals over cigar lounge. And he goes, hey, come this way. And we go into this place, and there's a door, and the door opens up into a hidden conference room with beautiful decor with like a garage door in the end. So the door comes up, and you can smoke cigars in there. They had a humidor actually in there, right? So that was great in my mind. So you can think about what are those things that you can do.
Yeah, because that's the transient experience that they would get from banking. You're not going to get that anywhere else. But even thinking about the memorabilia, look, as a lawyer, my job is to produce paper and numbers.
Right.
There's not the satisfaction of, being a carpenter and building a table or a chair. So the hobbies I've taken on tend to result in some physical thing that I've got, the trophy from. It's interesting to think about. Well, look, at the end of your journey with us, we will plan your estate.
Right.
We're already handing them a notebook that's there for them. It's the emergency binder. So they know how to contact us. They know who's in charge and what to do. But how do we take that one step further?
Right. A 3-ring binder is not an item of cherished memorabilia, right? But
Correct.
how can you turn it into, right? How can you do that, including how you package it? You think about Apple products and where people take videos of the box opening experience because Apple designed every way you view every page. So you can think about like the tab. I'm thinking about my own will and a testament of that. With this binder, it's got tabs in it, but the tabs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, through 10, whatever. Why don't you make them customized to the particular? Why isn't that if you have that guide mountain climbing motif, why isn't that the cover page? And you can think about as you're climbing that mountain, right? You're bringing up your family with you. Is there a way to get that across in what you're doing, that you're taking care of your family as you go through this? So there are absolutely things you can do. Again, it starts with that theme. I mean, you could just go design a binder, so okay, that's cool. But if it's not fit with everything else you're doing, again, it's not cohesive. So start with the theme, then you can think about how you change those physical things. Even the invoicing and the bills you do. One of my favorite examples all time is the Geek Squad, right? And I know Robert Stevens founded it in 1994 here in Minnesota. He dropped out of the University of Minnesota. And long before he ever sold it to Best Buy, it's just a wonderful example of bringing theater into your work, with the costuming that they do, the geek mobiles and so forth. And one of the things he did with invoicing is, and it's just with the theme that they had, and they have the motif of law enforcement. The real theme is comedy with a straight face. He actually had a stamp, right? He'd take his stamp, put it in a red pad, and he stamp on that invoice, and it would say, "Pay up, sucker." And then if you got over 30 days late, the S on the "Pay up, sucker" would change to a different letter, and he sent a new one, right? Best Buy wouldn't allow that, but
I mean, I guess. But no, it's interesting to think about it because even just that theming, 99% of the law firms that are out there, and certainly the 3 that I worked for before I started mine, it was all the same: wear a tie to the office, please make sure you look and sound like an attorney. And at this point, I have my 3 dogs on my website listed as employees.
Mhm.
About once a month or so, we'll get somebody who says, well, we weren't sure, or we knew you were our guy when we saw this. And I know for everybody who says that, I'm, running off probably the same number of people who would not have appreciated it, or they saw that and said, this guy isn't serious enough. And I'm, to be fair, I'm probably not serious enough for them if they're going to get turned off by having my dogs on there.
Right.
It's a choice. And if you didn't want the dogs, who sadly can't make it to any of the meetings, or if you are not going to be happy with a big red, pay up suck stamp, there are plenty of choices for everyone.
Right. People self-select then. So you attract the people that are going to be really attracted to your theme. Just like with Joie de Vivre hospitality, he knows not everybody's going to like the Phoenix Hotel, and that's fine. Right. There are enough customers out there, but I can sort of match with their identity. And that's what you're doing there, is that Chip Conley calls it identity refreshment. That you love dogs, you see this on there, that's something that's you. I'm playful. I'm not a guy who's just going to recite legal precedent to you. Then that can be part of your persona and who you are. It's part of the theater that you provide. But I absolutely, if I were you, would be thinking about how to get them in at least some of the meetings. I mean, come on.
I do my best. The sad fact is the office where we occasionally have our meetings has a no non-service dogs restriction. So I'm kind of stuck there. I don't want to piss the building off, and I don't want to need a service dog.
Right.
So, but it's still there. A lot of it comes through, and the identity refreshment makes it easy for people to, again, self-select. This is our guy versus this isn't our guy, or so many other places. We have no idea who these people are, but thank God they've written about themselves and where they went to law school and how many combined years of experience they have in the third person.
And it's just a more fun environment. You'll enjoy your work more as well if you let your personality come through and be part of your interactions with your clients.
Right. And it also lets not only future clients, but also future employees know, like, this is what you're walking into. If you're not going to be able to deal with this, that's fine. We'd rather you also self-select out as early as possible too.
Right, exactly. And that's why it works. It works both ways in that sense. If you want a great experience for your customers, well, you probably would need a great experience for your employees as well, so they have the wherewithal to make that happen.
Right. And, kind of bringing it back to the start, service is what we do for our clients, our guests, our customers. Management is basically the same thing. How do we take care of them and provide that consistent environment for them to want to come back to?
Yep.
Excellent. Joe, we've run through our time. This has been great. For folks looking to get started, obviously the current edition of the Experience Economy, we'll have a link to that in our show notes. Where else can they find you?
They can find me online at strategichorizons.com, strategichorizons with an S.com. And there it talks about our offerings and so forth. We do have a blog on there called Thoughts, where we publish our thoughts on various different ideas. And we also actually have a Experience Economy Expert certification course that you can find about there as well if you're serious about really making a difference in your practice. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn or find me on Twitter at Joe Pine.
Excellent. Joe, thanks so much for stopping by.
Pleasure, John. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcouncil.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcouncil.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.